2023 did have its fair share of stinkers, and the only reason it took me so long to make a Hall of Fame because there actually was a hell of a lot of good games between the time video games first started all the way until 2023, and it was hard for me to pick, but I managed to at least get one already in the Hall of Fame inducted, and that would be Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires. So, who will join this absolute gem of a game in the remaining 9 slots of the Hall of Fame? Well, you'll have to see for yourself. So, let's get this Hall of Fame started, which should have already been done in January, but again, there were a lot of good games to choose from. With that, here are the 9 candidates. "'Tis the greatest game in history!" And without a doubt, this is what happens when game developers actually put effort in their games and put 100% into what they do and love what they do. They get gems like Super Mario RPG. The characters are unforgettable and lovable. The story is action-packed and intriguing. The battle system is awesome, but more importantly, the music is not only unforgettable and catchy, but meme-worthy at best. And then it got a remake. Probably one of the better games in 2023, I must say, especially when you actually get a rematch with Culex, not just in 2D, but in 3D. Not only that, but this game has the full honor of being the last game Square Enix would make for the Super Nintendo, and they wouldn't make another Nintendo game until Final Fantasy Origins for the Game Boy Advance. Still, this is what happens when Square puts their efforts into things, and that is why Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars and its remake will be inducted into the Hall of Fame with an RV-tastic. And see, this is what happens if they do effort. When they don't, we get the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This game actually being inducted is a good reason why. Sometimes it's best to stick with 2D. This is one of those reasons. A beautifully drawn RPG. Not to mention mecha battles. That already got me sold on it. And the characters are actually charming and hilarious, on top of the fact that they have a well-timed battle system that you can actually get used to. Although money may be an issue, still, at least you can get used to the battle system. But there's one thing that it does that any game made by Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do. And that is, don't dwell on what the characters are and who they sleep with. Because yeah, there is LGBT characters in this game, but what makes this game great is the fact that it's not shoved in your face like every modern game. No, that's just a character trait and not part of the story, and that's something I can get behind. Needless to say, after several hours of playing Chain Echoes, I am definitely hooked. And the best part is you can replay the game to get characters that you may have missed in your first playthrough, because that's how good this game is and how lenient this game is. So with that said, give a round of applause for Chain Echoes for making the Hall of Fame and doing something that no game consultant group could ever possibly achieve: making LGBT characters bearable and enjoyable. See, ladies and gentlemen, Square Enix can actually make good games if they actually tried. And this is another example: the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. Bringing in Final Fantasy 1, the game that started it all, and 3 of the best games of the series, Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, into America after literally 36 years. Jesus Christ, it took them that long to actually get a working port for this game? Well, needless to say, I'm not complaining because this is the best version of the game. Granted, you don't get most of the dungeons, and also the Switch has a code for Final Fantasy 5 and 6, but at the exact same time, here's the thing: you get 6 games for the price of 1. Something originally you had to buy multiple versions of the game on Steam, all of which were crap, or you had to get multiple versions strewn throughout the PS1 and the Game Boy Advance, all the way up to the Nintendo 3DS. Needless to say, it's about damn time that they managed to get all 6 games multi-platform on day 1 at the same time, and even then it took fan backlash for them to do it. Like I said, when Square Enix put their mind to it, they can make things great. Hell, they even made Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 3, which is tantamount to shovelware in the series, actually bearable. That takes a lot of work. And this was something that should have been done years ago, but I digress. Final Fantasy, the Pixel Remaster, has made its way into the Hall of Fame. It was only a matter of time before this game would have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and it's honestly easy to see why. Because the memorable characters, the story that would pretty much set precedents to probably one of the best franchises in Sega's history, which have been effectively bastardized by Infinite Wealth, but we're not going to cross that bridge. But more importantly, it would bring 2 of the most lovable characters that everyone already knows: Goro Majima and Kiryu Kazuma. Their stories pretty much impact the entirety of the game. Everything they go through pretty much impact the entirety of the series. And it's this game right here that pretty much gives life to the Yakuza series. This is what a prequel should be. This is a prequel done right. Not taken away from the first and second game, because those are pretty good in their own right, but this one, in my opinion, is the best. And it's all the more reason why Yakuza 0 earned its spot in the Hall of Fame. I know, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit should have been on here, but here's the thing. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit didn't have what Need for Speed Underground has, and that is the ability to not only buy parts, but customize those parts and actually make them look the way you want them with scaling. In other words, this is the first game that allowed you to morph your parts to the way you want them to. This is the first game that also introduced underground parts and also not only high-speed chases, but ticket booths and drifts. Pretty much everything that you would see from a Need for Speed later on down the line, which ended up getting completely boring by Pro Street. This is the game that made that shit exciting though. Not to mention, got the soundtrack to boot, including but not limited to T.I.'s 24. Now let me be honest with you, me speeding down the street, blasting that tune at a very high volume while I'm beating the crap out of the competition and outrunning the police is the best thrill in the world. Thank God they did not remaster this game, because you can't really remaster perfection. So with that said, Need for Speed Underground has made its way into the Hall of Fame. And thankfully it's been untouched, unlike Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. And speaking of not rebooting perfection, which unfortunately Activision had failed miserably to do, 007 happens to be the pillars of the FPS game genre, alongside of Halo, alongside of Doom, alongside of Turok, and more importantly, alongside of Contra. These are the games that literally put FPSs on the map, not Call of Duty. This is the game that everybody talks about for years and was excited when it actually made its debut, or should I say return, to consoles after being in limbo once Rare had been bought out by Microsoft. All of a sudden they now decide to put 007 available for not only Xbox One and Xbox Series X, but also for Switch. It was definitely a sight for sore eyes for everyone because, let's face it, everybody loved GoldenEye, and the fact that the Nintendo 64 was discontinued and it's hard to get GoldenEye speaks a lot of volumes. You could still pick that game up, have 4 controllers, and everybody can try to either karate chop, knife, or shoot each other in the head. It's all good, clean fun. And also the story is actually pretty damn good too. At the end of the day, not many people can actually say that 007 was any better than this. Because here's the thing. After 007 GoldenEye, well, it kind of fell off. This was the peak, and unfortunately, many companies have not grasped that concept yet. Hence that keyword yet. There will be one, just not now. But until then, GoldenEye will receive its spot in the Hall of Fame. So what happens when fans actually get the keys to the kingdom to one of your franchises and you just put your licensing on it? I'll tell you what happens. You get Sonic Mania, arguably the best Sonic game in the series, bar none, hands down, because it's been made with love, it's been made with care, and it's pretty much been made with all the references all the Sonic fans know, including the return of Mighty the Armadillo, who by the way haven't been seen since Knuckles Chaotic, and the first actual legitimate playable appearance of Ray the Flying Squirrel. Not to mention one of the best soundtracks that could ever hit a Sonic game, all made by T-Lopes. Needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, these fans outdid Sonic Team and outdid the expectations of everyone. Whether it's putting in old stages or bringing in new stages. My favorite one is literally Studiopolis. Sonic Mania is, without a doubt, the best game in the series. And let's face it, nothing else can truly compare. Not even the newest game they just released. So, Sonic Mania shall take its place in the Hall of Fame. Long before Street Fighter 6 was on the verge of being created, Capcom did something actually good for once. They brought back all of the games from Street Fighter, the very first Street Fighter, all the way until Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Every game made and put it into one big collection. And that is the 30th anniversary collection of Street Fighter. So you can play multiple versions of Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha 1. You can play all three versions of Street Fighter 3, and you can do it all in just one game. Just simply pop in and play. There's no microtransactions, there's no loot boxes. All you gotta do is pick up, play a few games, and if you're done, turn off the game. That's it. There's no fight money. There's no bullshit with mods. More importantly, there's no Luke. That's the best part. Street Fighter Anniversary Collection is something that'll be near and dear to the hearts of everybody who love the games that are on Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. So with that said, it has earned its spot in the Hall of Fame. What? Tekken 8's not here? Well, there's a good reason why. One, I didn't play Tekken 8 yet. And two, the fact that Tekken 8 has what this game doesn't. It has microtransactions that's plaguing the game. This game, Tekken 5, has something none of the games after it did. 5 playable games in one game. You have Tekken 3 fully playable, Tekken 2 fully playable, Tekken 1 fully playable, the Mishima Corporation game fully playable, and on top of the fact, you have Tekken 5. 2 of those games are based on the main story, and 1 through 3 will catch you up to speed. 1 and 4 is not on the game, but still. This is for basically people who have a PS2, because yeah, it's PS2 exclusive. Still, you get 5 games in one. That would be the only reason to buy this game for the PS2, is because you have 5 games in one. Not to mention you can actually work towards getting customization options for your characters. At the end of the day, this game is what Tekken 6, Tekken 7, and Tekken 8 isn't. Completely available, completely affordable, and have more utility to work with. And that is why Tekken 5 has earned its spot in the Hall of Fame. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Hall of Fame for 2023. These are our inductees, and there will be more inductees next year for the 2024 Hall of Fame, provided nothing bad happens to this channel or to YouTube. So with that said, this is RVMan985. I'll see you all in the next review.